With so much attention being focused on Syria recently, it's easy to neglect some of the other countries involved in the Arab Spring movement. But today I'm here at Bryan Hall to learn about the factors influencing Egypt's successful uprising and its failing democracy. In December of 2010, a Tunisian man set himself on fire as an act of disparity and protest. This demonstration caused civil uprising not only in Tunisia but across the Arab world, a movement which came to be known as the Arab Spring. Among the nations who took part in rebellion was Egypt, an important ally for the United States. As much as the U.S. would like to see a democracy flourish, Egypt has ousted the elected Mohamed Morsi, who came to power after the regime of Hosni Mubarak was overthrown.
Join me now in welcoming Lord Pintak.
Lawrence Pintak is Dean of the Edward R. Murrow College of Communication here at WSU and an expert of Islamic studies. He spoke on campus Tuesday about conditions in Egypt.
The reality is that what we're seeing in the Arab world today is probably the most seminal moment in the last 40 years or so.
Pintak stresses Egypt's importance because of its position in the Arab community.
The reason that Egypt is so critical is because it has always been the leader of the Arab world.
Egypt had different organizations who may have been at odds with one another, but who agreed that Mubarak had to go.
Those who represented the forces of nationalism and those who represented the forces of Islamism had a real common viewpoint on big issues in the region. And so they all came together, of course, ultimately to overthrow Mubarak. But now, almost inevitably, they are again at loggerheads. It's the old, we're all united against the common enemy, but once the common enemy is gone, we're all at each other's throats. And that's exactly what happened.
When the Egyptians finally participated in democratic elections, a lack of viable options allowed Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood to come to power.
Of course, you had the Mubarak elite, the old guard Mubarak people, you had the Brotherhood, and there was no third force that could effectively compete in that election, in that first election. In Egypt, it was natural that the Brotherhood was going to come to power when Mubarak was overthrown, because there really was no alternative. Mubarak, as many authoritarian rulers, systematically prevented the rise of any kind of an organized civil society.
Pintak then explained what he thought the Brotherhood did wrong once they got to power.
You can make a strong argument that their huge mistake was not taking power, or maybe it wasn't taking power because they couldn't handle it, but it was then trying to force their religio-political agenda on the country.
Because of Morsi's firm treatment of dissenters, the Muslim Brotherhood may have lost any future chances to govern the country.
Now that the Brotherhood's leadership has been decimated, the Brotherhood is completely forced out of the system and will not be coming back into the system anytime soon.
Although there is a nation of Egyptians who want nothing more than to see a successful democracy, Dean Pintak is worried that the future of the country will have to suffer through even more turmoil.
The bottom line is that we're looking at what I think will be a really nasty period of serious instability in Egypt, if not a whole wave of overt terrorism.
In a region where authoritarian power has been the norm for so many years, Egypt is finding out that the transition into a stable democracy is going to be a difficult one. For the Murrow News Service, I'm Derek Huber.
Because they didn't want to continue the Mubarak regime, essentially.